Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur. We're learning Maseches Kiddushin, Daf Mem, Daf Mem Aleph, Mem Aleph Amud Beis. Mem Aleph Amud Beis is the page. This year's Leilu Nishmas Tovimor Menachem Ben Akiva, Leilu Nishmas Ruth Bas Sholem Sor Bas Moshe Aviva Bas Moshe Lehatzlochas Kol Klal Yisrael. May all the captives come home very, very, very soon. With Atzloch and Bracha, Brius, and all the soldiers won't have to fight anymore. B'chlal. Bezos Hashem, the war shall be won very quickly. May we be zochet to refuah shlem, refuah of Nina Chaya Bas Yoda Rochel, refuah Chana Batzima, refuah or Rafael Ben Dalia. He's on my list now, a blind baby, Hashem Shmo. And Besoch Shar Chol Yisrael, Eloi Nishmas Hen Yaresh Abbas, Elchonan Yitzchak, mother of the tzaddik. Latzlochas, my new granddaughter. Sure. Chana Rochel Bas Tomo. She should have a good life. In Tveria she lives. My granddaughter's name is Chana Rochel. Everything is good with her, Baruch Hashem. I'm dedicating this year for her success, and Baruch Hashem, she's well. Yeah, Baruch Hashem. Last time I saw her, she was fast asleep. She was sleeping like a baby. I think it's time we start this year. We're learning about shlichus, not Chabad, shlichus. The question is, how do we know? What is the source in the Torah that shlichus actually works? How do you know that if one sends a proxy, somebody sends a messenger, how do you know that whatever the messenger does automatically works on behalf of the meshaleach, of the person who appointed him? That's a nice idea, but how do you know it's true? So we saw, so far, we saw two sources. Yeah, we saw that it says about Gitin, V'shilach v'shilcho, right? Shilcho, not gersho. Shilcho means to send a shliach. It means that both husband who wants to send a get to his wife, to give a get to his wife, he doesn't want to do it himself. He can do it through a shliach, and a woman to receive the get may receive the get through a shliach as well. Okay? How do you know Kiddushin? Kiddushin, how do you know that what you call it, that it works with Kiddushin, shlichus with Kiddushin? So we said we know that because we have a hekesh, v'yotza v'hoiso. Whatever applies to Gerushin, many things that apply to Gerushin apply to Kiddushin as well, because the two situations, the two mitzvahs are juxtaposed, they are samuch. Then we said Terumah. How do you know the Terumah is something that works with shliach? How do I know that if I send a shliach to take truma for my fruit, then the truma really applies? Yeah, because it's not his. How do you know? The answer is because it says, "But truma ken tarimu gam atem l'rabos es shliach," and that's where we are. Gam atem l'rabos es shliach memalef amud beis v'nichtov rachmono. Yeah. In other words, when it comes to comes to truma. Also you separate truma as well as who? Also you, and also your shliach. You send someone to take truma, although it's not his. And normally speaking, yeah, we wouldn't know that one person can act on money of other people and fruit of other people. So what if I sent him? The fact that he takes truma, because if somebody takes truma on my stuff without my permission, without my knowledge, it's not called truma. It's as if he didn't do anything. Yes. And therefore, we have to say gam atem. Okay? Yes. There's a question if it's called Zochin Odom Shlo B'fonov. But even Zchia, you only learn after you know Shlichus. There is a question if taking Truma from somebody else is called Zochin or not. It's actually Shalom Achronim. Because maybe Shlichus because of Shlichus. If Zchia is a derivative of Shlichus, then you need to come to Shlichus first. Zchia Matam Shlichus. Weiter. Asks the Gemara, fifth line, frag the Gemara, v'nichtav rachmona betruma, v'nei tuhanach v'nigmur minei. Yeah, sorry, it's the fourth line. V'nichtav rachmona betruma. Let the Torah write the Kiddushin truma, kentarimu gam atem, and then we're going to learn Hanach, Kiddushin, and Gerushin. We're going to learn it from minei, from where? From what you call it? From truma. Truma should be written. And if it works by Truma, Kol Sheken, it's going to work by Gitin and Kiddushin. Why did I say Kol Sheken? Which one is holier? Which one? Truma. In other words, Truma, it's harder to apply holier things. That's the idea. It's more charged. So if Terumah is something that can apply, shlichus, Terumah, shlichus applies the Terumah, then kol sheken v'kol sheken that the what's his name, the Gittin and Kiddushin, which is less holy, of course it applies, right? Why do I need to have both Truma and Kiddushin? You have to have in your mind three boxes: Chulin, Truma, and Kodshim. Truma is higher than Chulin, than Gerushin and Kiddushin. If it works by Truma, which is harder, holier, more exclusive, kol sheken it should work by Gittin and Kiddushin. So why do you need psukim for both? Answers the Gemara, no. Gittin and Kiddushin have something which is harder and more severe than Truma. Mishum de'ikar lemifrach, one could have argued, one could have broken that logic, bipoirech, sheken yeshno b'machshava, which means Truma can be taken by thought only. You think about Truma and here it happens, which means, says Rashi here, and in other places in Shas, I think in Beitza, Rashi says, Truma, let's say a person, for whichever reason, is not yet interested in separating the Truma. It could be Shabbos, there's a similar idea. And then you have in front of you 100 clusters of grapes, right? You want to take Truma, let's say 2 clusters out of 100, which is, let's say, 1/50th, right? And without saying anything, without touching anything, you want to start eating from the grapes. You can't eat. You didn't take Truma. I'm not talking about other meisters. Let's say Truma. You can just think in your mind, look at those grapes over there at the left corner, the left-hand side corner of the pile, and decide in your mind, you know what I just thought in my mind? Now, this is Truma. I had a thought bubble. This is Truma. If I decided this is Truma, I can start eating from the other grapes. Wow. In other words, Truma, there's a source for it. It says by Truma, there's a makor that we say Truma, as Rashi is going to say later on. I'm going to look later. There's a source to tell me that Truma, it says called Nediv Lev, also by Truma of the Mishkan. When a person thinks I'm going to give Truma, it's Truma. As opposed to Gittin and Kiddushin, no such thing. If a person thinks I divorced my wife, he's not divorced. He may want to, it's not. If a person thinks, he thought in his mind the right Mukadeshly. No, he has to give her the money. He has to say. It's not enough to just think. So Truma, in a way, is easier and more applicable and more widespread than Gittin and Kiddushin. Each one has a minus and a plus. On one hand, Truma is holier. On the other hand, Gittin and Kiddushin are harder to apply because you need to do something and say something, as opposed to Truma that can be just by thought. And therefore, just if the Torah would have told me that by Truma, shlichus applies, I would say, of course, because Truma is so easy to apply. You can just think, boom, and it happens. And of course, shlichus would help too. Mashenk and Gittin Kiddushin, where thinking alone doesn't help, I wouldn't have known automatically that shlichus helps. Maybe Gittin Kiddushin are more harder to apply. They're more demanding. Very, very nice. Up until now, we dealt with Chulin, such as Gittin and Kiddushin, and Truma, which is the higher level. What about the highest level? Level number 3 is what? Kodshim. Now we're going to bring a Mishnah in Psochim. Psochim Daf Tzadik Ches Amud Beis. The story is as follows. Vodet nan. B'meir Ibon Beis Hamikdash. B'meir B'mein Omin. It says in the Mishnah, Chabura she'ovad pischa. There's a group of Jews, all interested. Oh, welcome back. There's a group of Jews. We said Kodshim. The coin stepped in. Wow, is that Ashgocha? Chabura she'ovad pischa. A chabura of regular Jews, koyanim, not koyanim, regular people, and they lost their korban pesach. The korban pesach is alive and kicking and running away. He ran away like a kid. There's a kid who behaves like a kid. He ran away, and the chabura is now, they lost the korban. They don't know what to do. So what do? V'omru le'echad, they told one of them, they told one of the group, let's say the group has, let's say 10 people, they told one of the guys, one of the bnei chabura, because Pesach is always eaten how? With a group of people, right? A family, 2 families get together, you have the Seder, the Pesach together, you eat the korban. Which day of the month is this that we're talking about, of the year? It happened on Erev Pesach, the 14th of the month of Nisan, right? 14th of April. Yeah? That was just a joke. Right. Okay, fine. In other words, you Dalet Benisan, by some people, that's when Pesach is. I don't know. Yeah. By Dalet Nisan, no, maybe that's a new thing. You Dalet Nisan, they lost the Korban alive still, right? They didn't shecht it yet, ran away. So they told one of the guys, Se ubakesh v'shchot aleinu. We want you, Reb Shimele, you go, Bakesh, look for the sheep or for the goat, yeah? And then when you find it, shecht for us. We want you to be moitzi us, the shchita. You go to Beis HaMikdash, and then you shecht it for us. You find it. We'll look for it over here. You're going to look for it over there. If you find it first, you are the one who is the shliach of all of us. You're a messenger, and your shchita should work for all of us. The holach, you know what happened? By the way, this is not a case that happened. It's a theoretical case. I know people sometimes get confused. It's a mission that says what if kind of thing. Yeah, I mean maybe it happened once. I don't know, but this is not a recorded case. It's a legal theoretical case. The Olach, Shimele went to look for the korban, and lo and behold, Mazel Tov Umotza, he found the sheep somewhere hiding, between Harabais and the old city. The Shochat, he went to Beis Hamikdash and he shechted it. But you know what happened meanwhile? They gave up on him. His phone was not answering. The Wi-Fi was a little bit, dysfunctional. Then lokchu v'shochtu, and they also shechted. They said, Shimon is not coming. It's getting late. They went and they shechted their own korban. So the other 9 people shechted their own korban, and Shimon was working on their behalf, also shechted the korban. Each one shechted separately. Im shaloi nishchat rishoin, if we found out that he was the one that shechted first, so he was acting on behalf of everybody, and his shchita, they found out, was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Hu oichel mishaloi, he eats his own korban. Afterwards, they all met. After the shchitas, they all met together. Shimon, and then they have to figure out, what do we do now? They both shechted. If he's the one who shechted first, we erase the word v'shoisim. The word v'shoisim is not in the Mishnah, and also the Goen erases it. They eat with him. In other words, if he's the first one who shechted, then what happens? Then really, when he shechted, he was working on behalf of everybody. True? And therefore, his korban is moitzi everybody else. What about the korban that they shechted half an hour later? Nothing. Yeah, that korban, the shechted, don't eat it. The Mishnah there says, doesn't work. So what do we see? That the shlichus of this guy, of Shimon, a regular Jew, he's not a Kohen even, that guy, he shechted on behalf of everybody else. In Holland, how do you know? How do you know that when it comes to kodshim, how do you know that really shlichus helps? And I can send you to shecht my korban, and even though I'm not there, and even though I shechted separately afterwards, still your shlichus is powerful and works for me. How do you know? The obvious question is, well, we saw 2 other sources already. Maybe you'll say, well, I can learn from those. What do you mean those? From Gittin and from Terumah. If it works for Gittin, works for Terumah, maybe it also works for Kodshim. Says, well, you know the answer. You guys know the answer. What's the answer going to be? No, because those things, both Hulin and Terumah, etzel Kodshim, relatively to Kodshim, it's Chol. As I told you, what's the hierarchy? What's in the bottom, in the totem pole? Is Chulin, Gittin, Kiddushin, Stam, stuff, whatever, do my laundry. What about the middle case? Terumah, holier than Chulin, only Kohanim, only Betahara, only this. What about Kodshim is the highest? Kodshim is the highest in the totem pole in the hierarchy. So just because shlichus works for class C and class B doesn't mean it works for class A. Kodshim is the snub. Kodshim can't learn automatically from Chulin and Terumah. Kodshim has to be what? Has a different source. What's the source? How do you know? Answers the Gemara. We learn it from a limud of Rabbi Shimon. 1 second, are you okay? Yeah. You learn it from a statement made by Rabbi Shimon Korcha. Rabbi said this is the first time we see this famous line. How do you know that shlucha shalodem k'moisoi? How do we know that a person, a shliach, is considered the mamish like the original person who sent him? Yeah, like the appointer. Shenemar v'shochtu oisa kol kaladas Yisrael ben ha'arbaim. That's interesting. It says about Pesach, kol kaladas Yisrael, all of the congregation of the nation. It says three things. Kaladas Yisrael. There were three separate times of shchita, but it's telling you here that the entire congregation of Am Yisrael, millions of people, ben arbaim, after the zman of Mincha Gdoila, yeah, what do? They all shecht korban Pesach. Really? Is that so? In other words, there were many chaburas, right? But each chabura had 10, 15, 20 people, right? They didn't all shecht. There's one korban per group. So not everyone shechted. Only one would shecht on behalf of everybody else. How come you're telling me the entire nation shechts? How can you say that? How can you tell me that Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, and Shprin Sabela, they're all shecht? Well, really, only Reuven shechts for everybody else. Yeah, what do you see? Elamikan, here you see the source. Sheshluch Shalodam Kmoisoi. Very good. So we know that Shluch Shalodam Kmoisoi, we see that although only one person shechts per chabura, and by the way, that's not even true. Many times the Kohanim shechted, but a regular Israel can shecht. You remember that? Yeah, you remember that? Yeah, we saw that in the previous Mishnah. A regular Jew that knows how to shecht is allowed to shecht kochim, to shecht the korban, even a woman. So one person represents the chabura, and yet the Torah says that everybody shechted. Because if Reuven shechts for Levi, Yehuda, and Binyamin, it's as if Levi and Binyamin shechted themselves. I remember your question from yesterday. It's part of a big chakira. I'm not relating to it now. What we see now is whatever the shliach does for you, that works for you, and happens to be that this pasuk talks about kochim. Last time I checked, psochim is kochim. So we have a pasuk. So nice. Beautiful. Now things seem to be almost perfect. There's a pasuk for the bottom one. What's that? Shilcha, for regular benodam lechavero, regular stuff, chulin. Higher, Terumah. Terumah we learned from Kentarimu Gam Atem. And the highest one, Kochim, also has a source. What's the source for Kochim? It says, Kahal Adas Yisrael, Kol Kahal Adas Yisrael. Everybody shechts, well, physically, not everybody shechts. So we have one for each one. Good? Are you happy? Good. Why aren't you happy? You're not happy with it. This story, why did we bring down the Mishnah about one shechting for the others? In other words, why did we? I don't know. This Mishnah, I hear a question why I bring down after this Mishnah. This Mishnah we're going to see in the next Amud. This Mishnah has a problem actually with it, because this Mishnah, I don't want to talk about it right now. I hear it's a good question. It's a good question. But Lamaisa, we see in Mefurish Mishnah that one person checks for everybody else. That's one Mishnah where we see it written outright. But I hear your comment. Yeah, you good? Weiter. No, it's not good at all. There's a hierarchy over here, right? Which one is the hardest one to apply shlichus to? Logically, kochim. Kochim is the highest and biggest. So what do we say? If shlichus applies to kochim, kol shekain, it should apply to truma and to chulin. And that begs the question as follows: Chada michada loy asya. You managed to convince me that you can't learn one from another. In other words, had it only said maybe what you call it? No. Sorry. Skipped. Overvoy. Break the Gemara. Veneti hanach v'nigmeru minei. Sorry. The line starts with v'nigmeru. Veneti hanach v'nigmeru minei. Let us, not write shlichus regarding truma and chulin. And we're going to learn it from kochim, as I just explained to you now. If it works for kochim, but the highest one, kol sheken, it works for the lower ones. Why do you need psukim, mechulin, and truma? Answers the Gemara, mishum deika lemifrach. Because one could argue regarding kochim and say, malik kochim sheken rov ma'asein alidei shaliach, which means kochim, by definition, most of the deeds of the kochim, except for shchita, can only be done by koyanim. We better maintain, good relationship. When you go to Beis Hamikdash, the Kohen does everything for you, and that's the way it's meant to be. You're not meant to do Kabbalah, Zrika, Kabbalah, Elocha, Zrika, Aktorah, blah, blah, blah. You're not supposed to do these things, yeah? So the way the Torah designed this area of halacha is by shlichus. There is a question, a famous question, Maseches Nedorim, Kohanim, shluchah derachmana, shluchah didan. Are Kohanim are shluchim or shluchim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That's another question. But Lamaise, Kohanim are there to represent the whole nation. So thank you very much. Of course, that when it comes to shechita, also, I would say shechita, which I can do on my own, shine, somebody else does it. Because any Beis HaMikdash is not a place for 10 billion people to be on top of each other. It's meant to be an exclusive group that works. So there, of course, shlichus works. But maybe by Terumah and by Gittin, normally a person is Torah his own grains. Normally a person is Mekadesh his own wife, right? So maybe their shlichus doesn't work. You can't compare Kochim, which is all shlichus oriented, to other areas in halacha, which may be lighter, it's true, but they're less mechitesia. How do you know that shlichus works, right? And therefore, I need all three. Now we're in a really, really happy place. We need one for Kochim, one for Terumah, and one for Chulin. Very nice. And here comes the question, 1 second. That now brings a new question, what I started saying before. You're good? You have a question? You good, Ellen? You're fine? Fine. Select the Gemara like this. I answered that. Although shechita can be done by other people, look at kochim globally. 90% of Maaseh kochim are done by shliach. So it makes sense to say shechita also, even though one is thrown to the other, it works with shlichus. Because Beis HaMikdash is a place where one person represents others. Usually it's a Kohen. Here we added a bit of an addition, of extension, Yisrael for another Yisrael. But that doesn't yet teach me about, imagine yourself a world, we are so used to shlichus, we don't think out of the box. Imagine yourself a world without shlichus. A man has to be mekadesh the wife himself, everything, Gittin, Terumah, with no shlichus, yeah? How do you know? You can't learn it from kochim, because kochim, most of kochim are all are done by shlichus. So shechita also, although it's not only kohanim, also works by shlichus. I wouldn't automatically know about other areas in halacha. I would say it's an extension of the regular shlichus of kochim. Makes a lot of sense to me. What? No, how do you know? No, not true. How do you know shlichus by kochim? No, but it's obviously not taking care of all the kol kula, because Terumah and Chulin have their own sources. No, that's wrong. No. Yes. Shchita, right. Yes. But that rides on top of previous information. We already know that 90% of kochim are done b'shlichus. Yes, that's before we open the Gemara. On top of that, we say, how do you know that shchita works, that there's shlichus b'kochim, i.e. by shchita, we add that. But I wouldn't automatically know Terumah and Chulin from there. No, because Terumah and Chulin never found shlichus. In kochim, I already found 90% working with shlichus, with koyanim. I'm adding now for kochim, or whatever, the best I can provide. Yes. Okay, let's pause and hear more questions, and then we'll continue. Yes, I'm listening. We saw women can do shchita. Yeah. Even in Beis HaMikdash. Yeah, I don't know, it was accepted, it was allowed. Weiter. Now, frag the Gemara, let's play the ping pong. One from the other you can't learn, which means, let's say you only had one pasuk of, let's say, Terumah, I wouldn't have automatically known, I wouldn't have derived Kochim and Chulin. However, the Gemara now wants to suggest, why do you need all three areas in halacha to have shlichus written regarding them? Let's erase one of them. Let's omit one of them, whichever one. Have two of the three written, yeah? And the third one, I would know automatically, yeah, in kind of b'me'atzad. Let's see how it works. Hey, Tacey, which one would you miss and you would learn it from the other two? Let's see. All this was just an introduction. What? Let's see. That's what you say. Maybe. Says the Gemara. Let's try on omit, erase kochim V'teisi mehanach, let us suggest that kodshim can be learned from the other two. Obviously, that's not true. Why? Ma'lehanach sheken yeshnan chol etzel kodshim. Both, as we said before, both hulin and truma, relative to kodshim, there are chol. Truma, relative to kodshim, is less. Class C, Class B cannot reach Class A. I wouldn't have known that kodshim, the snobbish kodshim, I don't know that shlichus works by them. Let's now throw the dice the other way, throw the cube differently. Lo nichtav achmona begerushin. Let us omit the lowest one, gerushin. Don't write gerushin, which is the lowest one in the hierarchy. But teisi mehanach, that's good. That's good. Teisi mehanach. Why? Very, very good. Because here we have, one second, I'm going to open the Gemara. It says by gerushin. Why does it have to say by gerushin v'shilcha? No, gerushin is the lowest one. So if the kodshim and truma that are higher, they still have shliach, kol sheken v'kol sheken. Then when it comes to the gitin, of course that shlichus can work because gitin is less. And says the Gemara, no. Ma'lehanach sheken yeshnan b'machshava. Wow. Gitin has something more severe, and Kiddushin have something more stringent than truma and kodshim. That's machshava, which means Truma and Kodshim, yeah, they work even with machshava, even without saying anything. Regarding Truma, we already said that, right? We already said that Truma, you can have silent movie Truma, silent Truma, silent Truma. What does it mean? I decided in my mind that those 10 grapes in the corner are Truma. You know what? They're Truma. And I can eat the other ones. And Meiser, I'm not talking about Meiser Rishon, Meiser Sheni. I'm saying I separated everything in my mind. It's all organized. And Mamish made a clear mental note. I stopped and I thought, this is Truma. Kodshim, listen to this, says Rashi. That's what I was looking for. It says, Kol Nediv Lev. Yeah, sorry. It says by Kodshim, I want to see the choices. It brings you the source. Yeah. Yeah. And Rashi says, Kol Nediv Lev Oilos. Listen to this, unbelievable, says Rashi. If a person said, I want this bull to be an oilo, the person has a cow grazing in his backyard, and he decided in his mind, clearly, this cow will be an oilo. You know what? It's an oilo. You have to bring it to Beis HaMikdash as an oilo. Nobody's allowed to use it. Nobody's allowed to do anything with it. It's Kodesh just by thought. I was looking for the source. Tosfos says, by Truma, how do you know that by Truma, thought alone works? Says Tosfos, you can see yourself. In Parashat Koirach, it says nechshav. What's nechshav? Considered. What's lachshav in Hebrew? I need my ulpan. I didn't go to ulpan ever in my life. What's lachshav to think? Lachshav. In other words, machshava alone makes truma a truma. What about kodshim? Kol nediv lev oilos. Lev. Lev is what you think in your heart. Oilos. By the way, halacha l'maaseh. If you're Ashkenazi, you have to be careful. This is not for you. According to the Ramah, if you seriously thought and decided in your mind to donate 10,000 shekels to Koilel Avos Shalom, you have to donate 10,000 shekels to Avos Shalom. Ask your local Orthodox rabbi of Avos Shalom. And yet, if you decided in your mind, this is, I didn't say anything. You decided, he says, yeah, because Kol Nediv Lev, that's the other pasuk. I got mixed up with this Truma, the other Truma, Truma of money. It says in Parshas Truma, which we're going to read pretty soon. What did we see? Yeah, Kol Nediv Lev will bring the oil, the Truma. If you thought in your heart, I'm going to donate money for a certain cause, and you made a decision, a mental decision, without saying anything, you have to do it. And according to the Mechaber, no. So I'm saying ask your Rav, but that's what I remember from learning Shulchan Aruch. That's just an aside. So back to us. Very good. So you can't learn the other two to teach from them to Gittin and Kiddushin. Why? Because Truma and Kodshim, as high as they are, it's easier to apply them. I can apply them by thought only. They say soon there'll be robot. You just think and it happens, right? You just think of the Truma and Kodshim and it happens. So of course you can also make a shliach. It's more applicable. The Sheikh and Gittin and Kiddushin or have to do something and say something. Maybe then shlichus doesn't work. That's what I need for Gittin. So both Kodshim and Chulin / Gittin, they need their pasuk. Who's a sandwich child here? Who's the one sandwiched in the middle? Truma. Frag the Gemara, Ela lo lichtov rachmonu betruma, v'teisi mehanach. I would omit truma. Truma is sandwiched right in the middle, and I would learn truma from both where? Both Gittin and Kochim. Why? I can learn it from both. Mitzad the level that it's such a high level, not such a high level. Kochim is higher. Kochim is higher than Truma. Kochim is looking down at Truma. If it works for Kochim, it works for Truma. What about Machshava? Same thing. Machshava works for both the same. Now, what about Gittin? Are you going to tell me, yeah, Gittin is lower than what's his name, than Truma. You write Gittin, you write Kochim. Truma, you don't need to write Truma, right? From either side, I know the Truma works. If you want, you can see Rashi inside. Yeah, let's see Rashi inside. Rashi v'teisi mehanach is a few lines above where we are. V'teisi mehanach. Rashi dibar maska v'teisi mehanach is a good few lines, more than 10 lines from where we are now. Line starts with the word oilois, and then Rashi v'teisi mehanach. Rashi speaks out how it would know Truma without writing Truma. I would have known that shlichus works for Truma just from Gittin below and from Kochim above. Says Rashi, Ma Kochim shen kodesh yeshlan b'shliach. If Kochim that are the highest, holiest, it works with shliach, Truma shichol lekol sheken. Truma, of course, Truma is mundane, is chol, comparing to Kochim. Of course it works. Truma is lower. Ma Kochim shken rov ma'asem de shliach. That's the problem. Oh, Kochim is all done by shliach, and Truma is not. So I wouldn't know from Kochim to Truma. Says Rashi, Gerushin yachichu. Gerushin is not normally done by shliach. If it works for Gerushin, clearly works by Truma. Mala Gerushin shekan yeshlan choletzel Truma. Maybe Gerushin are lower than Truma. They can't prove anything to Truma, which is above it. Kochim yachichu. Kochim is above, sandwiched. It's cornered now between Kochim and Gittin. Clearly, Truma has all the sources to teach me that, right, it works only with Machshava, so it's Kochim. The level of Kedusha, if it works for Gittin, Koshkin works for Truma. The Chozer Adin, Atzad Shove Shebahen, what's a common denominator between Gittin and Kochim? Sheyesh Lelei Atzmoi, Shluchok Moisoi. Both Get and Kochim works by the person himself and by the Shliach. Afani Avi Truma. Truma is redundant, which means, let's summarize. I could have missed the word gam atem regarding Truma, and I would have known very nicely that Truma, that Shliach works in Truma. I would know it from Kochim and from Gittin, from both sides. By the way, Kochim represent all Kochim, like Psochim represent all Kochim, and Gittin and Kiddushin represent all matters of Chulin. A Kinyonim, yeah, Truma is the middle. I would have known it. Says the Gemara, you are right. Says the Gemara, hachinami, as we say in Yeshivish language, ein hachinami, right. Thank you very much that I'm right. So why does the Torah spend an entire word of 2 letters, gam? Why do you have to say gam atem lamali? Where was Tim McKenzie when we needed? Yeah, where's Tim? Where's Tim McKenzie? Welcome him in. We need it for Biyanai statement. What does it mean? This is about bnei bris, which means what? Yeah, I'm joking. Let's say that you want to have Tim McKenzie, your shliach, to do the truma. Does that work? He's a very nice guy. He believes in God. He's a very nice person. And he likes the Jews and he likes the mitzvahs. And he says, okay, Rabbi, you're going to the Hathana in Bnei Brak. I will take the Truma for you. Can I appoint Tim to be my shliach to take Truma? Well, no. That's what it says, Gam Atem. I know that shlichus works for Truma, but we don't know the detail in the shlichus. What does Gam mean? If I say you are X, you are something, and so am I, we are the same, right? You are a Jew and so am I. You have 2 eyes and so am I. So do I, yeah? It means Gam Atem, just like a person who has to take Truma clearly is a Jew, so too the Shliach has to be Jewish. Very, very good. And that excludes not only regarding Truma, regarding Gittin, Kiddushin. Yeah, a person wants to send a very nice, decent goy from New York to receive the get for the woman in Brooklyn looking for a get. He's going to Israel to support Israelis in the war. No, you can't. How do you know? You know it from the words Gam Atem. Your Shliach has to be Gam, also like you. Very good. So the detail is what you learn from Terumah. Why do you need a pasuk for that? I don't need a pasuk to teach me that. Why? Says the Gemara, I would have nafka, I would have known it, I would have derived it from the statement of Rabbi Chia bar Abba on behalf of Rabbi Yochanan. What does it say over there? Rabbi Chia bar Abba Rabbi Yochanan. En ha'eved nas shliach lekabel get miad bail shel isha lefi she'en lebatos gitin v'kiddushin, which means, let's say a woman who wants to receive a get, right? So she wants to send an Eved Knaini to receive the get for her on her behalf. The shliach should be an Eved. That does not work. An Eved Knaini cannot receive get as a shliach even, cannot give a get as a shliach, cannot receive or give Kiddushin, is out of the story of Gittin and Kiddushin. You know why? Because the Eved himself, and here we're getting to the lomdus of shlichus, Eved himself is not into Gittin and Kiddushin, which means Eved Knaini, although for many, many matters he's like a Jew, except for he's potter mitzvos like a woman, v'chule v'chule. When it comes to Gittin and Kiddushin, he's out of the story. There's no such thing as Eved Knaini or Shifra Knaini is getting halachically married. It's called Rabbi Meyached Loi. They have like Yichud, but Enechnami. You remember what we said? That it's a choiv, that many avodim view the idea of being free as a choiv. Why? Because when he was an Eved Knaini, he could have relations with 10 different girls, all the Shifra Knainis. And it's a machlokes rishonim about a goita. Somebody here asked me, right? Or maybe it was in yeshiva. Toyses at the end of Avodah Zarah has a discussion. Maybe an Eved Knaini is allowed to be with the shiksa completely with the goita. In other words, the whole marriage system, so to speak, the halachos of Kiddushin and Gittin don't apply to them. So misvara, without the pasuk, I realize and I understand that if a person is not connected to the inyan, he can't be a shliach. Which means, if we say what I started telling you yesterday, if we say what shlichus, I have koyach to marry a woman, to be mekadesh, chas v'shalom megaresh, take truma, do stuff, then I'm giving that koyach to who? Somebody else is going to do it for me. He doesn't have the ability to take that koyach. Yeah, he's not in the parsha at all. He's not in the story. He can't take that parcel. He has no hands to take the parcel. Yeah. In other words, Eved Knaini is not in the story of Gittin Kiddushin. And therefore, the same way I'd apply to what? To a goy. Since a goy, there is no such thing of goy taking his own meiser from his own fruit. That is, there is no such thing, according to what we say now. And therefore, of course, a goy can't be a shliach to take truma. Why do they need a pasuk for that? Yeah, you understand that? In other words, a goy, there's no such thing goy taking truma. There doesn't begin just like I don't have wings. I can't fly because I don't have wings if I want to very, very much. He's not in the parsha. And says the Gemara, it's true. I would have said no. What you said is wrong. I do need the pasuk to exclude a goy from the truma. Why? The comparison to Eved was wrong. Eved, the lav bar hetera hu klal. And Eved is not bar hetera, meaning gittin at all. In other words, the get is no tzad. There's no kiddushin, no gittin. He's completely out of the story. Nothing to do with anything. Elamai, but, 1 second. Unlike what we said, the Gemara is not changing gears. Ovid Kochovim in his own truma has the ability to take truma from his own land, from his own fruit in Eretz Yisrael. Wow. So he is in the parsha. What do you mean by that? That's none. By the way, this is only partially la halacha. I want to ask you a question. What happens if a guy bought a piece of land in Eretz Yisrael and it's his? He legally bought a piece of land. Mackenzie really loves Israel, and he bought a piece of land in Eretz Yisrael and he grows stuff there. He grows wheat and barley and shiva saminim. He's a big believer in the Bible, in the Old Testament. And what does he want to do now? To take meiser. Let's say he took meiser. Does the meiser apply? Is it really called a meiser? Machlokes, you know the halacha. You probably learned it from the Rabbanim. Very nice, but it's not so simple. It's a big machlokes tanoim. Machlokes, there are two machlokes. And before we continue, let's slow down. First machlokes is Does the goy have a kinyan to be mafkia the kedusha Eretz Yisrael? Yes or no? When Mackenzie, it's a machloitis. When the goy bought a piece of land vis-a-vis Maestras, do we say now this is not part of Israel? Mackenzie is an American. I'm joking here. So this is little America in Israel. It's like RBS or Harnof. It's not part of Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, in other words, this is really not a place where the mitzvah Eretz Yisrael it might apply, or maybe it does apply. Maybe although it's owned by a goy, still it's part of Meiser land, and you have to take Meiser. Second question is regarding meruach. The stage that makes the fruit chayv b'meiser is when you tidy them. If you remember, you smoothen them. Remember, yeah, from Bov Metzia around Daf Pei, yeah. So that Peiches, yeah. And then we said when you smoothen it, you memarech. That's what makes it chayv b'meiser. So let's say Mackenzie or Abdul Rahman, they are the ones who did the meruach. It's another question. When a goy is memarech, does that make it chayiv or potur? Okay. Bekitzer, we have a question here. Mackenzie, what did he do? He bought a piece of land, and then he grew everything. He cut it, and he was memarech. Is it or isn't it chayiv b'meiser? Or even if it's not chayiv b'meiser, if it took meiser, is that called real meiser? Is that called real truma? Let me explain to you the question. There are two questions here. First of all, is the chiyuv meiser? I don't think he has chiyuv meiser. That I haven't seen. There's no chiyuv meiser in him. It's not one of the 7 Noahide laws. However, let's say he took truma. Does that truma have the halachic status of truma or not? Or is that a joke? Yeah? You know what I'm saying? If the guy actually took meiser and he said, this is terumah for the priest, for the kohen, means what? Does that really mean that now it has a status of truma? Does that mean that now this is truma? And if I eat it, I'm chayiv misa, chlila? Yeah? And I can give it to the kohen. Machloikis, it's a shaila. That's a shaila, Rabbi Sai. Says the Mishnah that none. Ha'ovid kechovim va'akuti shetormu trumos and truma. Wow. According to Tanakama in the Mishnah, we're not saying there's a chiyuv. That's a separate story. But if the goy took meiser, which means from his own land in Eretz Yisrael, according to this opinion, the land remains kedusha, kodosh. And if he took it and he did memareach, the miruach still makes it not necessarily chayiv, but applicable to truma. And if he took truma, it's a real truma. So according to this opinion, if not lechatchila the mediev. By the way, Peretz was nodding in his head. He's right. I don't want to get involved because I've seen different things in halacha. But what I saw when I had the shaila, I think I once told you the story. When you have something grown by a goy and memarech by a goy, as far as I know, halacha it's potter for ma'aser. Halacha lamaisa. Ask your rabbi. Yeah, this is what I know. The chor not like this opinion, but this opinion says if the goy was memarech and he took truma, the truma is truma. If so, ema shliach nami ovid. I would say maybe if a goy can do the truma on his own stuff and he works and it's applicable, maybe it can also be the shliach of the other person. Kamash malon. Now we know we need a pasuk. Very, very good. We need the pasuk of gam atim to tell me a big chiddush that although the goy, if he took truma from his own produce, it's called truma, and you can give it to a kohen. And if I eat it, I'm chayav misa. It's severe business. But nevertheless, if I sent the goy, if it was meshalech the goy to do my truma, then the truma is not truma. Why? Because shlichus by goy doesn't apply. How do you know? Gam atem. I need a pasuk to tell me that. Gam atem, matem bnei bris, av shluchachem bnei bris. Only those are bnei bris, they can do it. Brek the Gemara now. That's not the only game in town, says the Gemara. There is another opinion regarding a goy's truma. Rabbi Shimon the Potar. What would you say according to Rabbi Shimon the Potar? What does Rabbi Shimon say? It's none. Yeah, it says there in the Mishnah, Terumah so'evet kerchovim medamas. The guy took truma, his own field, chayiv b'meiser. I don't know if he's chayiv as himself, but the field has kedushas Eretz Yisrael vis-a-vis truma and meiser. Now he took the truma, he was mafrish, and if now that truma fell into a pile, into a mixture of chulin, of regular fruit, medamas, everything becomes osur. You can eat it, yeah, because you're a kohen. But us Israelim, yeah, as long as it's 1 in 100, not 60, yeah, if you have one grain, one grape, one fig in a mixture of 100 regular ones, the whole thing is osur, and we don't say it's bottle beroiv. Yeah, by truma. It's just another way to say that even though the truma was taken by a goy, serious business. It's called Terumah, and the entire 100 is Osur. The Chayovin Aleh Choimish. Let's say you and I ate the Terumah by mistake. Terumah that was designated by who exactly? By Tom McKinley, by Chun Chan Chun, in his own land, in his own thing, and he took Terumah, and I ate the Terumah by mistake. What happens to someone who eats Terumah by mistake? Choimish. He has to give the kohen, whichever kohen he has to give it back. Choimish. This plus choimish in the shape of fruit. In other words, it's called real truma. It's a real truma. The Rabbi Shimon poiter. Oh, Rabbi Shimon says no. Rabbi Shimon says, well, the miruach of Ovid Kochovim is not called miruach. Says Rabbi Shimon, it says digonecho. When you are medagen, when you arrange stuff, when you arrange and you smoothen and you made nice the whole pile, as a Jew, it's chai b'maiser. If the goy did it, it's potter b'maiser. And actually, as far as I know, that's halacha. If something even grown by a Jew and then he gave it to a goy, he sold it to a goy, and the goy is memarech, it's potter. I'm not going now to halacha l'maiser. Reb Shimon holds that there's also other Rishonim who hold there's en kinyan. There's kinyan is mafkeh in the land, but even without that, the mere fact is memarech by goy, it's potter b'maiser. No maiser trumas by goy. Now the question is, atem gamatem lamali. According to Reb Shimon, if a guy is mufka, a guy is completely out of the story when it comes to Trumas to Maisros. If he takes Trumas on his own, it's like Mekadesh a woman. Can a guy, unfortunately, that's a very funny, unfunny example. I'll give an example. Unfortunately, it happens today. Rabbi, what's her name? I don't know what's her name. Rabbi Elizabeth, right? She's making chuppah and kiddushin. And the chosan has a white kippah on his head, right? And he tells the kala, Ret Mukadeshes Li. And what's his name? You know the name, TM, right? Well, they love each other, so who cares, right? So she does the whole ceremony. They do that, you know that. Yeah, they do a whole ceremony, and then also the priest comes. So they do a ceremony, and he's meka. It's a joke. Nothing. It's a very sad joke. There's no halachic application. Yeah, it's like I would say, my name is Napoleon. You'll send me somewhere, right? And then you'll really know. I'm saying, yeah, is that. I can be prime minister in Israel. If I was prime minister, I think things maybe would be better, maybe not. I'm not sure. But the thing is, again, if a guy is mekadesh a woman, it's nothing happened. Thank you for the nice ring. It's not, klum, nothing happened. There's no halachic application. Says Reb Shimon, it's really nice that this guy has good intentions when he's mafresh the Truman says this is true. Nothing happened according to Reb Shimon, right? According to Reb Shimon. If so, why do you need the apostle gamatim? Of course, he can't be my shliach because he doesn't have the hand to take the shlichus. Yeah, it's like somebody asked me to fly instead of him. A bird would tell you, "Can you fly instead of me? I don't have wings. I'm not in the parsha. So why do you need atem gamatim?" So the question remains on Reb Shimon. Answers the Gemara. It's trich. Yes, you do need. Here we're coming. It's not a hard Gemara to read what I'm about to tell you now, but you should know it's a hornet's nest. Just the whole story here. Itzrich, Stalkadat Chamina, one would have said as follows. Since it says like this. Atem, it says Kentarimu gam atem. Let's concentrate now not on the word gam, but atem. The word atem is exclusive. You. When I say you should, I mean you and not others, right? You. Atem, pinpointing, addressing the owners of the. Who's atem? Who takes truma? The owner of the truma. Excluding who? Atem v'lo yarisin. Oh, let's say a person has an oris. The oris is a sharecropper. I think we know the word oris already better than sharecropper, right? I got a lot of annoy yesterday in the Bocher in Yeshiva. I kissed him on the head. I told him shibud, and I told him what shibud? Mortgaging. So I said I can relate to shibud much more than to mortgage. That's the word that he knows better than the English word. Yeah, that's the way. Yeah, arisin, you know it's an oris. I hope by now after Bov Metzia. Let's say an oris takes what? An oris takes meiser without the knowledge of the balabais, and he would say, "Well, I'm not a stranger. I worked here. Yeah, I worked my sweat off. I know I worked hard, and I'm part of the story. I'm a sharecropper. Yeah, so maybe I can take also on the part of the balabais. I'm a little bit of a balabais here also. No, atem v'lo arisin. If an oris took without the knowledge of balabais, I can see." Yeah, without the knowledge of the balabais, the oris is no right. Even though as an oris, he's treated like a stranger. Atem v'lo shutafin. Let's say there are two partners. Yeah, 50-50. One partner took all the truma on both parts without consulting with the other person. It doesn't work. the truma is not a truma, even though it's a shutaf. As long as you don't have a mefurasha authorization from the owner on his part, he's a partner also, the truma doesn't work. Atem v'lo apotropos. Oh, here comes a bit of a story. Atem v'lo apotropos. In other words, you have little children, unfortunately, who are orphans. Yeah, the father, yeah, fought in Gaza. The mother got a heart attack. So now these people are small, young, underage, so to speak, Yesoimim. Who takes care of them? The apotropos, the custodian that is appointed by Beis Din. So the apotropos cannot take meiser from the fruit of the little ones. Now the question, that begs the question, who takes the truma? The little one. So the Gemara does say in other places that apotropos does take truma. Okay? We just said here apotropos doesn't take truma and he can't, and here we said that he can. There are two answers. One answer is by the Rashba and the Ritva. He says really, midoraisa, we're being very exclusive, and an apotropos should not take because it says atem, you and not the apotropos. So what do we do? Rabbanan said that let's say the apotropos wants to take truma, and it's not necessary. He wants to take truma from grains that they're only going to eat next year. Let's say the oldest boy is 12. Next year he'll be able, is 12 and a half. Okay, he'll be able to take truma in half a year. Okay, and you have this granary in the corner, and he's taking truma to store for later. The apotropos is not allowed to do that. However, if we have produce for the yesoimim that they have to eat now, they need cucumbers and tomatoes for the salad tonight. They need to eat. They can't eat tevel. It's osur. Then chachamim were mafkia the halacha. Wow. Chachamim went against the Torah. Why can chachamim go against the Torah in dinei mominus? It's called hefker. Beis Din hefker. Beis Din can change things around with money. And they said, we now make the apotropos as if he's the owner. The apotropos can take meiser from the cucumbers and tomatoes that are bought in the supermarket in Tel Aviv, where you can't rely on meisers, so the Yisomim can have supper tonight. But if it's meiser for later on, they don't need it now. Then we remain with the din Torah. The apotropos cannot take, even though it's apotropos. Wow. So in other words, even people very close to the owner, as long as they're not the owner, the one and one only, for your eyes only, they cannot take meiser and trumas from the goods. Atem v'lo torem she'eino shaloi. This is just a conclusive statement. Anybody who's torem something that's not his, that includes all the other cases. 1 second. Ema, I see that we're so particular, so meticulous here about just the person. Where does it end? I would have said, wait a second. Ema atem v'lo shluchochem nami. Kamash malan. If not for the word gam, I would have said, atem, only you, only you, only you. How many times can you say it? Are you telling me only, as opposed to even a shliach? Maybe. Imagine yourself again, a word with no shlichus. Out the window, right? Let's say by truma, we're being so particular, and we're saying only you can take truma, so maybe even shluchim can't. Maybe a shlich can't do it. Maybe it's a kind of mitzvah. Shluchus doesn't apply. Applies to get in Kiddushin, to Kochim. Maybe truma, the Torah wants you to be personally involved. Mashmalan gam, the gam mitigates the atem. The atem is very exclusive. Not even your partner, not even your oris, not even your apotropos, not even your next door, not even the shviger. Wow, not even she can take meiser, right? Only atem. So maybe atem excludes shliach. Kamash malan gam to include shliach. That if the shliach did it, then yes. By the way, Shlomo, this is how some achronim understand, or they explain it in the Ritva. What does it mean? Atem v'lo terms she'eino shaloi. Let's say I take truma, right, from your thing without your permission, from your kri without your permission. Havamina, maybe it's called zochin odom shlo befonov. I'm allowed to do good things for other people without their permission. Yeah. Let's say I see an envelope with $1 million lying in the street, right? And I pick it up, and I don't need anything for myself. I'm talking now like this, misken victim, and I don't need anything for myself. I pick up the $1 million only for who? For parrots. Nice guy. Yeah. $1 million, and I'm working on behalf of parrots, and I say I'm doing that both for parrots, even though parrots never told me he wants it. Automatically, when I pick it up for parrots, it's shelichus. It's a good thing to have $1 million, right? You know where the meister goes to. And then what? And then the $1 million are yours automatically. How do we know? We may know that's from shlichus in other areas, in Gittin, in Kiddushin, in general. Oh, so maybe by Truma, I can take Truma without the person's knowledge. We say, no. Atem. As long as there's no clear shlichus, you cannot do it without the knowledge of the Bailim. That's a chiddush. Only shlichus works, but not zchiyah. Very nice. Okay. Questions and comments? Yosef Manam, if you don't mind. Yeah. What? Who can point? Who can? A one? The Yisoimim, you mean? I don't think your cotton can be Mimane Shliach. No, the Beis Din were Mimane the Apotropos. The Beis Din appoints him. Sometimes the father, sometimes Beis Din. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, question? Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you to all our viewers on Torah Anytime, the beautiful new site, and thank you to people who watch us on YouTube. I hope you like the new look, and if you don't, let me know. Thank you, Natzlocho. It's all black all over the place here. The background. Thank you, and Natzlocho. Have a terrific day. See you tomorrow with another page of the Holy Torah. Natzlocho.